All right. 37. Antonius comprehended everything which could be of service to his cause, and he arranged his materials in the most advantageous order. And as a skillful general post, the cavalry, the infantry, and the light troops were each of them can act to most advantage. So Antinous drew up his arguments in those parts of his discourse where they were likely to have the best effect. He had a quick and retentive memory and a frankness of manner which precluded any suspicion of artifice. All his speeches were, in appearance, the unpremeditated effusions of an honest heart, and yet in reality they were preconcerted with so much skill that the judges were sometimes not so well prepared as they should have been to withstand the force of them. His language, indeed, was not so refined as to pass for the standard of elegance, for which reason he was thought to be rather a careless speaker, and yet, on the other hand, it was neither vulgar nor incorrect, but of that solid and judicious turn which constitutes the real merit of an orator as to the choice of his words. For though a purity of style is certainly, as has been observed, a very commendable quality, it is not so much so for its for its intrinsic consequences as because it is too generally neglected. In short, it is not so meritorious to speak our native tongue correctly as it is disgraceful to speak it otherwise, nor it is so much the characteristic of a good orator as of a well-bred citizen. But in the choice of his words, in which he had more regard to their weight than their brilliance, and likewise in the structure of his language in the compass of his periods, Antonius conformed himself to the dictates of reason and in a great measure to the nicer rules of art, though his chief excellence was a judicious management of the figures and decorations of sentiment. This was likewise the distinguishing excellence of Demosthenes, in which he was so far superior to all others as to be allowed, in the opinion of the best judges, to be the prince of orators. For the figures, as they are called by the Greeks, are the principal ornaments of an able speaker. I mean, those which contribute not so much to paint and embellish our language as to give a luster to our sentiments. 38. But besides these, of which Antonius had a great command, he had a peculiar excellence in his manner of delivery, both as to his voice and gesture, for the latter was such as to correspond to the meaning of every sentence without beating time to the words. His hands, his shoulders, the turn of his body, the stamp of his foot, his posture, his air, and in short, all his motions were adapted to his language and sentiments, and his voice was strong and firm, though naturally hoarse, a, def- a defect which he alone was capable of improving to his advantage, for in capital cause it had a mournful dignity of accent which was exceedingly proper, both to win the assent of the judges and excite their compassion for a suffering client, so that in him the observation of Demosthenes, I think that's how you say it, Demosthenes, was eminently verified, who, being asked what was the first quality of a good orator, what the second, and what the third, constantly replied, a good enunciation. But many thought that he was equaled, and others that he was even excelled by Lucius Crassus. All, however, were agreed in this, that whoever had either of them for his advocate had no cause to wish for a better. For my own part, notwithstanding the uncommon merit I have ascribed to Antonius, I must also acknowledge that there cannot be a more finished character than that of Crassus. He possessed a wonderful dignity of elocution, with an agreeable mixture of wit and pleasantry, which was perfectly polished and without the smallest tincture of scurrility. His style was correct and elegant, without stiffness and affectation. His method of reasoning was remarkably clear and distinct, and when his cause turned upon any point of the law or equity, he had an inexhaustible fund of arguments and comparative illustrations. Okay.